Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, my little corner of YouTube. This is a bit of a different video from what I normally do. It's not so technology heavy. Little piece of consultancy work I had to do a few weeks ago was to bring together about 20 spreadsheets of data into one spreadsheet for presentation purposes. Now I'm not a great spreadsheet developer, so getting things like VLOOKUP, and I thought, well, if I start learning this, it's going to become very complex, very hard to debug. Could use VBA, but then again, not everybody uses Excel these days. Using things like Excel Online, you can't use VBA in that, nor can you use VBA in Google Sheets. And the Excel doesn't have that dominance it once had. So what I decided to do was to take these spreadsheets and I extracted them all into CSV files. I loaded them into a piece of PHP, did the manipulation, got one file out, and then rendered that within the spreadsheet. Now, as I was doing this time and time again, getting the data correct and clean and whatever, I was continually putting things like formulas into the spreadsheet. It began to get a bit tedious in the end. So I wondered if it's possible to put functions into a CSV file. It's only data, see what happens. So it turns out it does actually work. It's quite impressive to watch actually. So what I thought I'd do in this video is just show how I did that and what it looks like within Excel Online and Google Sheets. So I wrote a piece of code which I'll just pop up now in PHP. I'll just show you running first, then we'll just have a quick walk through. So if I do a PHP full address. So when we run the code and we get the random data generated, I've just generated 4 columns, if you saw in the code, and then the 5th column is an average of those 4 values. I've used subtotals here, subtotal 100 and type 109. When you use subtotals with this type 109, it respects the fact that you might have filtered rows out, and it will reflect the value, and we'll see that in the demonstration. If you just use sum, which I think most people would normally do, when you filter rows out, it still sees all the underlying rows, so your value never changes, which is probably not what most people want, I would imagine. So the code is simple. This is just demonstration purposes, not the actual code I used. Put it together. You need a delimiter to use with a CSV file. Now, you can use things like pipes, but pipes don't work that well within the online versions. So I use a tab. Now I like tabs as well because you actually, when you just display the file, you do get a representation as well. So it's not as crowded as you might get with a pipe or certainly not a comma or a semicolon, all those kind of characters that you might normally use in a CSV file. So we have a number of columns which I'll produce, a number of rows. So again, just test data. So the code just shows a header. So we just do a function there where we display that, and we put the names in. Then we put the average in there. So I've got number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and average. So I've made those strings up from adding number to that. So you could have a header with data in. So this in the real world, if you did this, you would probably be extracting from a database or whatever. So you'd have the columns. So on the end, I've added in this extra one. We'll do that. This average, which is what we'll work out using Excel. So I could have done this within the PHP, not a problem. But if you started adding rows into the spreadsheet, you would lose that capability. And spreadsheets are good at adding up and things like that. So we do that, then we display the header. Show data, again, we're just going to whip round the loop for the number of rows I've requested. I think it was 10. Did I ask for 10? Yeah, 10 rows and 4 columns. You'll probably see in the code I've had column plus 1 because it's actually 5 because of that average column as well. So we go down there, just a number between 1 and 5,000. We write that out. We do the lines. So I decided to show 2 things going. So if I had just done average, you wouldn't have seen the cleverness of actually nesting functions. So if I just move this over, just move that over there. You see we've got average within int. Now you can do as many as you like up to the Excel limit, which I have no idea what that is, but it's probably significant. So what I did was I did the average. So we did that. Then you wrap that average within the int. So if you needed another one like superint, you would just add another line, xe equals superint xe, exactly the same layout, just adding up to them. And then when you've done all that work, you stick the plus in front, which makes it into a function. We'll notice as well is that you don't need the function, you don't need the equal sign as you go into the functions. It's only on the outside that we have to do that. So we whip round, we do that, then we spit it out. We need to do the subtotals, of course. So again, this comes down here. So subtotal 109 type of sub. If you have a look on the documentation, it's the same within Excel desktop, Excel Online, and Google Sheets. That 109 allows you to filter out rows and for it still to be present in the total. So that reference 1 and reference 2 is the column that we're in, and also for the averages as well. So we work that out. And we spit that out. You can, if you want, move the columns across, but probably with totals, you probably want to see them underneath the columns. So again, we'll have a look at that when it actually runs. Now, within Excel, if anybody's used Excel or Sheets, you'll notice that the rows are not, sorry, the columns are not numbered, the letters. Gets to Z, then goes to A1, I think it is now. It's not base 26. It's not easy to do. So I've had some research, and Microsoft they've actually got a reference in how to do this. So I just took their code and done that. So you pass in the values, the X and Y values you want to do, row and column in this case, for example, and that then works it out. I've given it a relative required, so you either get the dollar sign in front or not. Now there is another way that's what we call the A1 referencing style. There is the RC referencing style where you actually produce row and column, but that got a bit complex when I was doing that. So I thought I'll stick to the normal values that people understand. So we do that together. So have a look through the code if you want to. So all it's doing is generating test data, putting the subtotal lines in. All the rest is basically Excel formatting. So if we run this and actually save the output, so I'll just pipe this to the clipboard. I don't know if anybody's seen this before. I think I mentioned it in a video or two before. You don't need to write to a file. You can just pipe it directly to the clipboard. I would imagine this works under Linux as well. I haven't actually tried it, but we're under Windows, so that works quite well. So we'll do that. Then we'll go into our spreadsheet program. So I've got a blank Excel and a blank sheets open. So in the Excel, we'll just paste in, and it beautifully recognizes the fact that there's tabs separating the values. So we do that. Now I'll just put this in here so I don't forget to do that. There we go. Same again. No, don't do any of that. Just make that a bit smaller to do that. So then we go back to this. So there's our numbers, and you see in the formula line they are just numbers. But when we get to there, it's actually doing an int average. So it's brought that out, it's evaluated it, and it's evaluated the subtotals as well. That's exactly the same within here as well. So we have the value 447 across, and that becomes that, and that becomes a formula as well. Now, as I say, you can put filters in, which is really useful. So back in the code, while I'm actually writing out the subtotals, where are we? Put a blank line. So what will happen when we do the blank line is there's a technique you can use. And I think I always get this wrong. I think it's shift and down. Sorry, be control and down goes to the end of a column. Control and right arrow goes to the right of the column. So you can move around data very quickly. Now I think it only goes up to the space. So it says, yep, sorry, I'm just going to show you that particular one piece of table. Now, one of the really clever things here is if you do control and shift and down, it marks all that. Control, shift and right arrow, and it marks the whole table. So if you had hundreds of thousands of rows, rather than scrolling down there with your finger on the control and the down arrow, you can do that straight away. It saves a lot of time. We can go into data then, and we can say filter, and we'll only filter these particular rows. So you'll see there. So if you normally, as you know, you select the filter and you see the values. So we got 26891. that doesn't appear within the column, within the selection set. So we'll do that here as well, and this works equally well here. That was Control Shift and down arrow, Control Shift and right arrow to mark it. We'll go up to data, we'll create a filter, and there we are. We'll just choose that filter again, and that value is not there. So that's really quite a valuable trick to know, really, to do that. Now, because we've got the filters, right, so we imagine this is 29658, we can take a value out of here, so we'll just take that one out, and we'll see apply. So remember, 29658, we're going to take that entire, select all. Don't select all. I always get confused with this. So we've only taken one value out. Used to be 29658. We'll apply, so we only have that row. And it's actually said, yeah, okay, you're now 28435 because you've taken that number out. So we come back up here and we'll do select all again. We'll bring everything in, and then we'll go back to our 29658, and that works equally well within Google as well, within the Google Sheets as well. So that's pretty much it, apart from a few observations, I suppose, as I was doing this, and it's a thing which works differently between Excel and between Sheets, is the locale that you're actually in. Now, when I did this originally, it was on a French machine, and there the locale, French version of online Excel. So it was actually the locale was actually set to Spain. So if you just go into this, is just like a normal copy of Excel desktop, you come in here and we go into options, regional and format settings, you'd go in there. So it was actually set to French, wherever that would be down there anyway. Yeah, so it was French. So when we were doing this, it actually, instead of a comma, it wants a semicolon. So it was a useful observation, really, because I thought, yeah, if people are moving spreadsheets around, CSVs, if you don't take advantage of, don't have a good understanding of the locale you're in, you will get problems. And I would imagine that probably counts for things like separators. You know, do you use a space or do you use a comma for thousands? So I haven't looked into that, but it was just a thought. I thought I'd mention that. So that's it, really. It's adding a little bit of logic, if you like, a little power to Excel. I hope you enjoy it and use it in any little small spreadsheets you've got. So it might just save some time going in, cutting and pasting and copying down formulas. So that's it for this evening, everyone. So have a good time and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.